So, there's this movie called Star Wars. I don't know if you guys heard about it. But the newest one just came out, and I watched it last night, and it kind of, blew my mind. So, let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's me, the Nerdy Hero. We're back again for another review. This one is for Star Wars. Whew, this one has a lot to talk about. I'm going to be doing a non-spoilers part of this review for the first half and the second half of the video. I'm just going to go full spoilers because there's not much I can say. I don't even want to talk about what the story is or the plot is, because even that I don't want to just spoil it for you guys, because I don't even know where to begin. Like, basically, we're back with these characters with Rey, Poe, Finn, Kylo Ren, Snoke is back. And we're back with the continuation after what we after what we saw them do in episode 7. And we end up with this amazing opening battle sequence in space that I can't even talk about, but it's very emotional. Towards the end of the battle, it's insane what's going on. Poe is there and he's doing just Poe-isms basically. And I don't even want to talk about how funny and how action-packed and how emotional it is during that whole opening battle. And that's just the beginning of the movie. This movie is over 2.5 hours long, and it's the longest Star Wars movie ever. Then we're going to cut over to inside the spaceship after the battle. Finn wakes up from his coma, and he runs into Poe, and Poe says, "Oh, you must have had a million questions, or you must have 1,000 questions." And the first thing he says is, "Where's Rey?" And that's when we cut to the island. That's where we last saw Rey in episode 7. She finds Luke, she hands him the lightsaber, and that's where episode 7 ends off, and that's where we pick up here. And I don't even want to talk about what happens on this island. It's so many spoilers, not even possible, so many spoilers that I could talk about. But I'm talking about the chemistry of here. Let's talk about what happens on the island. Luke does not want to train her. He's basically a hermit now. He still has Luke in him. You can still feel like it's Luke. It's not just Mark Hamill playing an old man who's angry at the world. It's still Luke, but he's just done. He can't deal with all the stress. She shows up with the lightsaber, basically be like, "Oh, the weight of the galaxy is back on your shoulders. Let's go save the universe." And he's basically just like, "No, I don't want to. I'm done. I did everything I could." And now we have Kylo Ren that I created, and he's going on and on and on. So for Rey, she spends the majority of the movie on the island trying to train with Luke, and eventually he starts training her. But basically under the pretense that I'm going to train you to show you why the Jedi Order will not work. He does not want to do it anymore. And he starts training her, and he starts seeing how powerful she is, and he starts freaking out because he feels like she's going to be another Kylo Ren. Now cut over back to the Rebels or the Resistance. I don't even want to talk about too much about what's going on in the plot for the Resistance. There's about 3 story arcs in this movie. You got Poe's, Rey's, and Finn's. But Finn's and Poe's are pretty much tied for a good amount of the story until he splits off with this new character we meet, Rose. And her story kind of ties to the opening battle, but she comes in as a new character in an already existing franchise, and she actually does really, really well in her motives and all that. And every time we're introduced to a new character, just like Laura Dern's character, every time we're introduced to them, I'm like, why should I care about this person? We're already invested in these. For the majority of the movie, I'm like, I don't really need this character here. But at the end, when you see where the story arcs end for these new characters, I'm like, you know what? It was worth it. I like these characters now. That's one thing I really liked about Laura Dern's character. For the whole storyline, I'm like, I don't like her. I don't know what she's doing here. She kind of more or less just takes charge of the Resistance as they're trying to run away. And her and Poe really butt heads because she's in charge, and Poe is basically just this flyboy, runaway, rebel, basically. And she's trying to control him while trying to save everybody else in the Resistance as they're doing, I can't even talk about what's going on. But anyway, she takes charge, and I don't like her, and then until you see what her motives are, and you really realize what she's trying to do, and even Poe ends up realizing it as well. And she has a really cool arc towards the end of the story as well. And one of the most amazing shots in the movie is because of her. And I don't want to talk about it because of spoilers, but if you see the movie, you'll know that scene I'm talking about that has to do with her. And moving on to the next part, Carrie Fisher. I'm really trying to be as vague as possible as to what her character arc is in this movie. I don't want to spoil or give anything away, but I'm just saying watching her in this movie was an emotional wreck. It was very, very touching what they did with her character. Going back to Finn and Rose, they have this little side quest that they do during the middle of the plot where they go off to Cantobite, which is like a casino planet for the rich and wealthy. And they have this cool little part where they realize, you know, why are these people so wealthy? We've seen the scum and villainy, so now we get to see the rich and elite, I believe was what the director called them. These are the people who are really, really wealthy in this galaxy far, far away. And we learn that these are the guys who sell weapons to the First Order. And you know, is that all they really do? And you start finding a little mystery behind them. A very, very light sprinkle of like backstory on this planet. As they're there trying to find this master code breaker, which brings us to Benicio del Toro's character. Now, without being too much into spoilers, they find him through unconventional means, and he was not the guy they were looking for, basically.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
And when they found him and they go off on the quest with him, I'm thinking to myself, was he the guy they were looking for? And it's kind of like the usual suspects, where it would be like a character so say like, oh, I was the guy you're looking for this whole time, I was just kind of hidden. But no, he was just the guy, just a guy. And he ended up just being just as good, and they go off into this little side mission that ends up not even paying off. And some people might say that that was just a waste of time, basically. This whole side story doesn't pay off at the end. But I kind of looked at it as it was teaching a lesson, specifically to Poe, that, you know, he was being himself, trying to do this, trying to save the Resistance all by himself, and, you know, disregarding what Laura Dern's character, who was taking charge at the time, kind of causing this whole little mutiny going on. And in the end, it did not pay off, and it kind of more or less teaches him a lesson. And I figured that's the only way I kind of look at it, because for that, it kind of makes me enjoy the scene more. Otherwise, if I looked at it like the other people do, it'd be like, well, this is just a waste of time. It didn't lead to anything. I kind of viewed it like that. It was more or less like a lesson. Not everything's going to pay off. You're kind of breaking the rules, and not everything's always going to work out. Phasma's back. That's pretty much it. She has even less screen time here. She does more with it, but still. Okay, so now we gotta talk about Snoke. Snoke and Kylo Ren, their chemistry tosses around the force lightning and force choking and throwing things around like it's nothing. He barely moves, he's just that powerful. And he's basically just bullying Kylo Ren, saying that he's failing everything he's trying to do, and he gets beaten by this girl who has no training. So I'm gonna give it a good solid 9 out of 10, guys. I love this movie. It's awesome. You guys need to see it. I'm gonna be going to the theater again to see it again this weekend. So I can't wait to watch it again and again and again and again and again. This movie's fantastic. You guys gotta check it out. I don't know, some reviews are saying it's the worst Star Wars movie ever, and I'm like, really? Worse than Attack of the Clones?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Gay! So let's talk about the spoilers. The humor in the movie was mostly good. I feel like sometimes it was a little distracting. So the main joke that really bugged me was Luke throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder. It's telling you like two things. One, it's an F you to all the fans being like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? It's like the movie's like, no, it's not that important. So it's almost like a joke to the fans, like, we got you. And it's also like a reference to Luke saying like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. When I watched it in the movie, I was like, really? That was it? All this time we waited and he didn't even say anything? He just walks away? Okay, that bugged me a little bit, but at the same time I did kind of laugh. Now this movie, like I said earlier in the review, it plays with the emotions a lot. Because every time you think a character's dead, no, they're not dead. Then they are dead, and it's not dead. And it's like back and forth. This happened with Luke, this happened with Leia. With Snoke, he just got cut right in half. Leading them to Rey and Kylo to fight together and team up to fight these Imperial guards, whatever you want to call them, and it has this really awesome fight scene together where they help each other out, only to lead to Kylo still wanting to take over the galaxy and Rey to have to oppose him. And it was just, I feel like the two of them had the best chemistry in the whole movie. They had this little Force FaceTime Skype kind of thing going on during the whole movie that Snoke was manipulating and causing, and the two of them had these scenes together, you know, star systems apart. It was quiet, intimate scenes with the two of them just talking to each other. You had the whole scene where Rey goes down this dark hole, you know, figuratively and literally goes down this dark hole and kind of has this Empire Strikes Back metaphorical view of everything where she's trying to find herself and trying to find her parents. And basically you find out by the end of the movie, her parents were nobody. What? All this leading up, it's another little F you to all the fans. Like, all the fans are speculating like crazy, and basically her parents are drunks. They just left her for drug money or beer money, whatever, and they just took off. That was it. There were nobody.
You're so lonely.
And the whole movie they're teasing you, oh, who are parents, they keep referencing it. And Kylo says, you have no place in this story. you are just a random girl. It kind of just blows your mind, like, what? Really?
Got it!
And this was like this movie blew everything you thought. The way they use the Force with the Force projection that Luke uses during that final battle with him, if you look very closely, you can see the little hints of telling you. Because every time you see someone take a step on this mineral planet, I forgot what it's called, you see they leave an imprint of the red. When you see Kylo and Luke fighting, you see Kylo leave like a little red smear as he slides. And then cuts to Luke and he does not leave any red smear. So those are the little hints to telling you that he's not really there. Obviously he's holding the lightsaber, and obviously his hair is cut, it's all different. He looks like the younger Luke, and I didn't really connect the dots until right before it just happens and slices him in half and he's still there. That whole scene was phenomenal. One of the biggest things that can be incredibly controversial for fans to talk about is again how they use the Force. Carrie Fisher's character, General Leia, gets blown out into space just like the trailer was teasing. The bridge of her ship gets hit and she goes flying into space, and they think, oh my gosh, she's dead. I remember the whole theater went like,
oh my god.
That's it. And I'm like, did they really just do her like that? Like, what? I mean, like, if she was gonna die, because obviously the passing character Fisher, we talked about earlier, they're gonna kill a character, like, oh my gosh, that was really aggressive. And it cuts away to some other stuff unless you like marinate the fact that she's dead as their other stuff is going on. And then it cuts back to space and she's floating there, and then out of nowhere you just see her hand twitch and then her eyes open and she floats herself back onto the bridge and walks through the door and gets back inside and passes out, and then they bring her to the medical bay. And I was like, what? They can do that with the Force? And you know, the most jarring thing is, I feel like if Luke had done that, it wouldn't have been as exact, like, no one really would have reacted as much. I think it's the fact that she's went from like barely ever using the Force besides sensing stuff, you know, to like now she's surviving in space, you know, barely, but surviving in space still. It's such a drastic change that people are gonna be like, can you really do that? She's that powerful, but she's never done it before. So it's kind of like, that's why it's kind of controversial. But I thought it was a beautiful scene, like really amazing scene for them to use like that. I think the whole Rose and Finn romantic relationship aspect was a little forced a little bit. I could see why she likes him so much and she looked up to him. Then she finds out he's kind of a coward, but he's not really, because he's trying to protect Rey. But was he really trying to protect Rey? It's kind of like this big back and forth during the escape pod scene. But then he kind of like does a quick 180 and then jumps back with her and goes and tells him about the tracking system that they're having for the light speed, which I feel like they kind of skimmed over the fact how they're tracking in light speed. They barely explained it. I wish they kind of like put a little bit more in-your-face detail of how it worked, but not like take too much time on that. I didn't really need that much explanation. One of the last things I want to talk about is Laura Dern's character, how she comes in after Leia gets knocked out and in the medical bay. Laura Dern steps up and she takes over for the Resistance, and she has this plan for everyone to get away and escape to this one planet. And then Poe is like, no, we gotta fight, we gotta do this, we have this plan, we have to fight, we have this plan going on. And then she kind of like, it causes this whole mutiny to happen, and then she ends up fighting back and taking over the bridge again. And then that's when they have this whole side quest with Finn and Rose over to the casino planet, and then they come back and then get on the ship, and then it doesn't even end up working out because, you know, the plan did not work. And it kind of teaches Poe a lesson about like authority. And then he finds out the plan that Laura Dern's character was having this whole time, and he realizes, oh my gosh, she's actually knows what she's doing. And then she even stays behind and sacrifices herself in this beautiful, amazing shot where she goes into light speed through all the ships. And then when she hits that main ship that Snoke is on, all the shrapnel from her splits off and still going at light speed, hits all the other Star Destroyers, basically wrecking the whole ship by itself. And it was like this one moment where it's just dead silent as she went through that, because really, besides all the cool scenes we get to see in Star Wars, space is 100% dead quiet. So all these cool scenes and amazing sound effects that we get when during the space battles, it'd be 100% dead, silent, quiet. You would never hear a single thing. So that was one of the most realistic shots I saw in Star Wars, really, when she just went right through them and it was dead quiet and just cut right through a whole fleet of them. That was basically amazing. One of my favorite shots in all the Star Wars movies is just that one shot when she went right through them. So I don't even know what else to talk about. This is all my quick thoughts I wrote down really quickly about everything. I gotta see this movie again and again and again. I love this movie. You guys need to make sure you check it out. Let in the comments how many times you've seen it in the theater, what you guys thought of it. If you liked the movie, did you like the extremes it took, how it changed your perception of the Force? Put it all in the comments. Remember, you can like, comment, subscribe, and YouTube channel. As always, remember guys, keep it nerdy.